Hey there, I'm the Dark Hour Storyteller, and I'm here to keep you company tonight. I know many of you use these stories to drift off to sleep, so before you get too cozy, go ahead and like the video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, where are you watching from, and what time is it for you right now? Get comfortable, relax, and let's begin. I rented the cabin because I needed to get away from everything. The city noise, the endless pings and notifications, the people. God, especially the people. After what happened, the breakdown, the hospital stay, the awkward silences with my family, I knew I couldn't go back to normal. Not yet. Maybe not ever. So I found this place, tucked deep into the woods of rural Michigan. No Wi-Fi. Barely any cell reception. The kind of quiet that presses against your eardrums like water pressure when you dive too deep. It was perfect. A small wooden cabin, just 2 rooms and a fireplace, surrounded by nothing but trees, fog, and the occasional rustle of deer. No distractions. No expectations. Just time to breathe. Or so I thought. The first night was uneventful, unless you count how unnaturally dark it got once the sun went down. I've never known darkness like that, like it swallowed sound too. But by the second night, I started to feel watched. I told myself it was just my mind playing tricks on me, still bruised from what I'd been through, that I was being paranoid. But things started happening. Sounds I couldn't explain. Things moved from where I left them. The air felt charged, like something was waiting. I wanted solitude. But I wasn't alone out there. I don't think I ever was. Something followed me back. I met Dave the day I arrived. He was already waiting in his pickup by the gravel drive, parked just before the private path that led up to the cabin. Older guy, maybe in his 60s, with a sun-worn face and a voice like a chainsaw idling. "Thought you'd never show," he said, grinning as he handed me the keys. "Most folks don't make it all the way back here without second-guessing it." I gave him a tired smile, trying to hide how strung out I was. Truth is, I had second-guessed it all the way from the airport. But I didn't have anywhere else to go. Not really. He didn't ask questions, and I didn't offer any. Just a handshake, a brief tour, and then he drove off, tires crunching on gravel until the sound faded into silence. And that's when it hit me. Real silence. No city hum, no voices, no blaring TVs or sirens in the distance. Just trees swaying in the breeze, the occasional creak of the old wood beneath my boots, and birdsong, soft and scattered. I stood there for a while, just breathing. After the last few months, it felt unreal. The panic attack I'd had in that glass conference room still haunted me. The way my chest locked up, how I couldn't speak, couldn't move, just stared at my reflection in the window while everything collapsed inside. My marriage was already dead by then, and my job was killing whatever was left of me. That's when I knew I had to disappear. Not forever. Just long enough to remember what being human felt like. And for a moment, standing there on the porch with the woods stretched out endlessly around me, it almost felt like I'd done the right thing. But then the birds stopped. Not gradually. Just gone. Mid-song. Like someone hit a mute button on the world. I told myself it was the wind. Maybe a hawk nearby. Maybe my own presence scared them off. But the silence didn't feel natural anymore. It felt expectant. I shook it off. Unpacked a little. Ate a sandwich I barely tasted. Started a fire, just for the comfort of it. The first night was cold. The kind of cold that seeps into your bones even with the fire going. But I managed to fall asleep wrapped in 2 blankets, lulled by the crackling of wood and the whisper of wind against the cabin walls. until exactly 2:17 a.m. I know because I looked at my phone. There was a knocking, 3 short raps, then silence. I sat up in bed, heart thumping. Listened. Nothing. I waited a while, too scared to look out the window, half convinced I'd see a face looking back at me. Eventually, I told myself it was just an animal. A raccoon, maybe. A branch. Squirrels. The usual wilderness suspects. Still, I didn't sleep well after that. Every sound the cabin made felt like a whisper. Every creak became a question. When I stepped out onto the porch the next morning, I saw scratches. 3 long, thin lines carved into the wood railing. Shallow, but deliberate. They hadn't been there when I arrived. I was sure of it. I stared at them for a while, then forced myself to laugh. "Porcupine," I said out loud. "Maybe a bobcat. Hell, could be anything." But the laugh didn't reach my stomach. I told myself not to be ridiculous, not to spiral, not again. I made coffee, read a few pages of a book, took a walk, tried to enjoy the peace I'd come for. And that night, before I went to bed, I placed my phone on the windowsill, recording app open and running, just in case. I don't even know why. Maybe part of me wanted proof. Maybe another part wanted to be wrong. But I left it there, screen dimmed, microphone open to the night. And again, around 2:17 a.m., I heard it. Knocking. This time, 4 raps. Slower. Then dragging. Something scraping along the porch. I stayed frozen under the covers, eyes wide open in the dark, heart pounding in my ears. I didn't check the window. I didn't breathe too loud. Just listened to something I couldn't explain, moving just outside my walls. The next morning, I played the recording. I don't know what I expected to hear. The knocks, maybe. A breeze. An animal sniffing around. Something simple. Something I could dismiss. But at around 2:17 a.m., I heard the 3 knocks again. Clean, deliberate, slow. And then, just after that, a whisper. It was faint, almost lost in the ambient hiss of the recording. But it was there. It said my name, soft, drawn out, like breath on glass. I stared at the screen, my coffee going cold in my hands. I replayed it, over and over. It wasn't wind. It wasn't static. And it wasn't me. I hadn't heard it in real time. Only the knock. The whisper hadn't registered at all while I lay in bed. But the phone had picked it up. And that made it worse. It felt like something was speaking just outside the range of human hearing, like it wanted to go unnoticed. The day after that, things began to change. Subtly, at first. Every evening around dusk, just as the sun dropped behind the trees, I began to see shapes. They weren't solid. Not really. More like shadows where there shouldn't have been any. At first I thought it was the light playing tricks, my tired mind inventing forms in the branches. But they stayed still. Too still. And they were tall. Not trees. Not deer. Figures. Standing at the edge of the woods. Just far enough away that I couldn't make out faces, if they had any. They always vanished when I blinked. Or maybe I just couldn't hold their shape in my mind for long. By the 4th night, I barely slept. I sat up in the main room with a flashlight and a fire poker, nerves shot to hell, heart constantly pounding. Sometime around 3 a.m., I heard movement on the roof. The ground was covered in a fine frost, sparkling silver beneath the soft light. But the roof, No footprints. No tracks. No marks. Nothing. I should have left then. I know that. But I didn't want to admit I was afraid. So instead, I drove into the nearest town, about 30 miles out. I told myself I just needed some air, maybe a decent cup of coffee. But really, I needed answers. I found Dave by chance near a gas station, filling up his truck. He looked surprised to see me, asked if everything was all right. I tried to keep my voice casual when I asked about wildlife. Bears, maybe, or mountain lions. Anything that could explain the sounds, the movement, the presence. But he just stared at me, didn't answer for a long moment. Then he muttered, "Could be anything out there," and got back in his truck. Drove off without another word. At the general store, I met someone else. An older man, grey beard, wore 2 flannel shirts like armor. He was watching me the whole time I browsed the shelves, and when I paid, he leaned in and said, "You shouldn't stay past the 6th night." I froze. He didn't blink. "They remember faces," he said. "Doesn't matter if you forget them. They won't forget you." He rang up my things like nothing happened. Didn't say another word. I left in a hurry. That night, as I stood by the kitchen window, something else happened. I caught my reflection in the glass, or what I thought was my reflection. But when I turned my head, it didn't. It just stared back at me, expressionless, still. It was gone in a blink. Just my own tired face again. But something cracked inside me. The thin barrier between logic and fear. I started sleeping in short bursts, if you can call it sleep. And when I did dream, I was in the woods. Always the same. Blindfolded. Kneeling on dead leaves, cold air on my skin. And around me, whispering, dozens of voices. Children, maybe, or something mimicking them. They said things I couldn't understand, or didn't want to. And always, just before I woke, one voice, right next to my ear, would say, "We see you." Then I'd snap awake in total darkness. But on the 5th night, it got worse. I woke up outside, standing barefoot in the frost, just beyond the porch steps. No coat, no memory of leaving the bed. I wasn't sleepwalking. I don't sleepwalk. My feet were numb, my breath white in the cold. And when I looked up at the cabin, I swear I saw the curtain move in the upstairs window. I didn't go back inside for a long time. When I finally did, I discovered my car keys were gone. I tore the place apart. Checked every pocket, every drawer, every inch of the cabin. Nothing. The keys were just gone. I tried to call for help. The satellite phone I brought as backup, fully charged, brand new, was completely dead. Not out of battery. Just dead. Screen black. No response. Like something had drained it. Or taken it. That was the moment I realized I was cut off. Truly, completely alone. And something I didn't understand, was circling closer. Watching. Waiting. I made a decision on the 5th morning. Enough was enough. No more waiting around. No more pretending this was just stress or burnout or leftover anxiety. I packed what little I needed, clothes, journal, water, and got in the car. The sun was out. Birds were chirping again, though it felt wrong somehow. Forced. Like a soundtrack someone had added to make things seem normal. I took the main road heading south, the only one leading back to the highway. I kept driving, confident I'd be out of the woods in less than an hour. But 40 minutes passed. then an hour, and I saw the same crooked birch tree I'd seen just after leaving, same missing bark on the trunk, same broken fence post beside it. I turned around, took another road, dirt this time, less traveled, still ended up right back at that same tree. The forest was folding in on itself, looping. Or maybe I checked the GPS. Just a black screen with one word on it. Null. No coordinates. No signal. Just that one word. I turned the device off. Then on again. Same thing. Null. It wasn't just the road. I was outside of where I was supposed to be. Outside of anywhere. That night, the 5th, I locked everything, bolted every window, jammed chairs against the doors. I even dragged the couch in front of the main entrance. I checked every closet, every crawlspace, laid down in bed fully clothed, flashlight under my pillow, and still, I woke up to something worse. The door was wide open, cold air pouring in, and on the porch, lying neatly beside my boots, was my journal, pages fluttering in the breeze like they were waving me forward. I picked it up, hands shaking, breath hitching in my throat. The newest entry was written in my handwriting, but I hadn't written it. I knew I hadn't. It was dated that very night, hours ahead of where I'd left off. A detailed account of walking into the woods, of seeing children standing silently in the trees, of one reaching for my face with long, twig-like fingers. It ended with a single sentence, one that didn't feel like mine at all. It knows you. It's under your skin now. That broke me. I sat on the porch with my journal in my lap, mouth dry, unable to cry or scream or even blink. Then I remembered something. The rug. The heavy, dusty rug in the center of the living room. I'd tripped over it a dozen times, but never thought to move it. I don't know why I thought of it then, only that I had to see what was beneath it. I pulled it aside, and there it was. A small, iron ring handle set into the wooden floor. A cellar door. Hidden. Breath shallow, I opened it. Dust rose up like smoke. The scent of rot and mildew hit me instantly. I descended with a flashlight, each creaking step pulling me deeper into the cold earth. The cellar was unfinished. Dirt floor, stone walls, old wooden beams. There were bones. Animal, maybe. Some human-sized. Too many to guess. Scattered. Arranged. As if someone had laid them there on purpose. And photos. Polaroids. Dozens, tacked to the walls and tied to string hanging from the beams. All the same cabin. Different years. Different people. Men. Women. Couples. A few kids. Smiling. Standing on the porch. In the same spots I'd stood. And every photo, every single one, had the same thing in the background. A figure. Tall. Featureless. Always just behind them. Sometimes hidden in shadows. Sometimes just standing there, watching. And then I saw the mirror. It was covered in old, yellowing cloth, tied at the corners with frayed string. I don't know why, but I took it off. And there I was, looking back at myself. Except, I wasn't smiling. But the reflection was. Not just a twitch. A full, wide grin that stretched too far, too wrong. I stepped back, heart hammering, but it leaned forward, pressed its hand against the inside of the glass, and whispered, "Now we're one." The voice was behind me, not in the mirror. I screamed. I don't remember grabbing the hammer, but I must have, because I smashed the mirror to pieces in a panic. Shards rained to the ground like ice. The voice echoed again, softer now. One, and then blackness. Total, consuming blackness. I don't remember falling, but I remember waking up. Not in the cellar, not even in the cabin, somewhere else. And the air, it wasn't just cold. It was wrong, like breathing in static. I don't know how long I was out. I woke up slumped over the steering wheel of my car. The sun was just beginning to rise, pink haze slicing through the trees. Birds chirped normally. No silence, no tension, just a morning like any other. My keys were in the ignition, and my phone, the one that had been completely dead, was sitting in the cup holder, fully charged, 100%. No messages, no missed calls, but it was on, as if I'd never turned it off, as if I'd never even touched it. I didn't wait. I turned the engine over, threw it into drive, and sped down the dirt road without looking back. Didn't stop for food. Didn't stop for gas. I didn't even stop when I hit the highway. I kept going until I saw buildings, until I saw lights, people, noise, until the world felt real again. I found a police station in a small town just outside the region and filed a report. I gave them everything, every detail, where I'd stayed, who rented it to me, what I saw, what I heard. They humored me, that's the best word for it, wrote everything down, asked me to wait. A week later, they called me, said they found nothing. No record of the cabin in the county system. No Dave, who owned property in the area. The GPS coordinates I'd saved on my phone were corrupted. The file just wouldn't open. It was like the whole place had folded into itself after I left. Vanished. Like it had only opened up for me. I tried to let it go. Really. I got back to the city. Back to my apartment. Back to a job that didn't ask too many questions. I even started sleeping better. For a while. But the signs never fully went away. Mirrors, especially. They don't reflect right anymore. It's small things. A blink that happens a second too late. A head tilt I didn't make. Sometimes I catch myself watching me. Like I'm the reflection now, and he's real. A week ago, I was going through my phone, trying to delete old files, clear some space. That's when I found them. Photos. Dozens. All time-stamped between night 3 and night 6. Every single one showed me. Sleeping. Taken from outside the cabin window. Some close. Some further away. But always the same angle, like someone was standing there, watching me, photographing me, waiting. I don't remember taking them. No app records. No duplicate data. Just those photos, sitting silently in my gallery. And last night, at exactly 2:17 a.m., someone knocked on my apartment door. 3 knocks. Even. Rhythmic. I stood there frozen for nearly a minute before opening it. No one was there. Just the hallway. Silent. Still. But on the floor, neatly placed on the welcome mat, was a piece of paper, folded once, perfectly in half. I picked it up with shaking hands and opened it. 5 words, written in handwriting that wasn't mine, but was close enough to be confusing. You forgot your journal. I don't know how long I was out. I woke up slumped over the steering wheel of my car. The sun was just beginning to rise. pink haze slicing through the trees. Birds chirped normally. No silence. No tension. Just a morning like any other. My keys were in the ignition, and my phone, the one that had been completely dead, was sitting in the cup holder, fully charged. 100%. No messages. No missed calls. But it was on, as if I'd never turned it off, as if I'd never even touched it. I didn't wait. I turned the engine over, threw it into drive, and sped down the dirt road without looking back. Didn't stop for food. Didn't stop for gas. I didn't even stop when I hit the highway. I kept going until I saw buildings, until I saw lights, people, noise, until the world felt real again. I found a police station in a small town just outside the region and filed a report. I gave them everything, every detail, where I'd stayed, who rented it to me, what I saw, what I heard. They humored me, that's the best word for it, wrote everything down, asked me to wait. A week later, they called me, said they found nothing. No record of the cabin in the county system. No Dave, who owned property in the area. The GPS coordinates I'd saved on my phone were corrupted. The file just wouldn't open. It was like the whole place had folded into itself after I left. Vanished. Like it had only opened up for me. I tried to let it go. Really. I got back to the city, back to my apartment, back to a job that didn't ask too many questions. I even started sleeping better, for a while, but the signs never fully went away. Mirrors, especially, they don't reflect right anymore. It's small things, a blink that happens a second too late, a head tilt I didn't make. Sometimes I catch myself watching me, like I'm the reflection now, and he's real. A week ago I was going through my phone, trying to delete old files, clear some space. That's when I found them. Photos. Dozens. All time-stamped between night 3 and night 6. Every single one showed me. Sleeping. Taken from outside the cabin window. Some close. Some further away. But always the same angle, like someone was standing there, watching me, photographing me, waiting. I don't remember taking them. No app records. No duplicate data. Just those photos, sitting silently in my gallery. And last night, at exactly 2:17 a.m., someone knocked on my apartment door. 3 knocks. Even. Rhythmic. I stood there frozen for nearly a minute before opening it. No one was there. Just the hallway. Silent. Still. But on the floor, neatly placed on the welcome mat, was a piece of paper, folded once, perfectly in half. I picked it up with shaking hands and opened it. 5 words, written in handwriting that wasn't mine, but was close enough to be confusing. You forgot your journal. So now I sleep with all the lights on, mirrors covered, doors bolted, and I keep a journal again. But I don't write in it. Not anymore. Because I'm afraid of what it might say. Or worse, who else might be writing in it when I'm asleep?